Hi there. In today's video, I am going to let two AI agents talk to each other. So in a previous video, I created this AI agent in Python that I can talk to and it can write to files. So if I run this script, it will ask me, what do you want to do? And then I can say, create a hello world program in C. And I hit enter and then it will do something. It will ask me, do you want to write to hello world.c? And I will say yes. And then it will write it. And as you can see, it appeared here. And here we have hello world in C. And it responded to me, I have created a hello world program in C and saved it as hello world.c. And then you can see this U here. So now I can ask it something more. So I can say, can you change it to hello Mr. instead? And it will presumably want to write to a file again, yes. And I will answer, sure, you can write to that file. And look at this, we have hello Mr. now here. So it works. But what I would like to do in today's video is that instead of having to type something myself to the AI agent, how about I let it talk to itself? Or I create two different personalities and then they can talk to each other. Now, this actually came from one of the comments by AI-driven designers. I'm not sure if this is exactly what you meant, but this is how I understood it, and it sounded like a fun idea. I'm not sure if they will communicate with each other and achieve a maximal result, but they will do something fun, hopefully. So let's try to do this. I will quit this program. And now, if we take a look at the messages.json, which saves the message history, this is how the OpenAI API works. First, we send a system message, which can be, in this case, you are an AI bot that can do everything using function calls and so on. Then we send a user message, and then ChatGPT responds with, in this case, a function call. It wants to write a file. And then we respond back that we have written the file. And then ChatGPT will respond again, I have created the program. And at this point, we get the new input and we can put in the new message. Now, I don't have to use function calls here. If I run this again and I just say hello, then it says, hello, how can I assist you today? And I can ask, what is the difference between PHP and Python? And it will just answer in the normal ChatGPT way. So we probably get a very long answer. Yes, so here we have a very long answer about what is the difference between PHP and Python. So we don't necessarily have to use function calls. So if we now take a look at this message history, then now we have the system message and the user hello and assistant hello, how can I assist you? And what is the difference between PHP and Python? And because I save it only after I say something, then I can say thank you and it should be added here. So now we have the assistant message here and thank you. So what we could do is we could design two different system messages. And then when we send the first message and we get the response, then we would change the system message for the next iteration and we would reverse the roles. Now, I'm not quite sure if I can start with the assistant role, but I think I can. So we would change this then to assistant and this one to user. And then we would get a new assistant message from ChatGPT. So let's try to do this. So if we go to our agent.py, then down here, we are setting the system message. So let's now set two different system messages. So let's say system messages equals a list. And let's add this message in there. But actually, I will change this. So how about we do this? You are a Python developer talking to a PHP developer on Reddit. And then we will add another one, which will be you are a PHP developer talking to a Python developer on Reddit. And then we are actually asking the user for the first message, which might be okay, but I think I will change this so that it will actually ask ChatGPT what would be a good first message. But let's keep this right now like this. And let's start the messages array with the first system message. So let's say messages equals a list with a role, system, and content, which will be the system messages number 0. And then we could also pass in here the number. So system number. which will be 0 at the beginning. So I'll just set it to 0 here. And then we can go to our run conversation function. And we have the messages here, and we have the system number, which I guess I could start at 0, so we don't even have to pass it in here. And then actually what I want to do in the beginning is change the system message every time. So I'll just say messages index 0 will be role system content, and then it will be the system messages system number. Now we have to pass this in, or we could use a global variable, but let's pass it in here, system messages. So let's pass it here, system messages. And I guess I don't have to set these messages here. I will just leave it empty, because if we add it to the 0th index, then it will always be added in the beginning, even if there's no 0th index yet. So let's do that. So we will change the system message in the beginning, and then we will add the new message to the end. And then we would want to change the system message for the next iteration. So we can do system number plus equals 1. And if system number is greater than the length of the system messages minus 1, then system number is 0. Perhaps this is a very complicated way of doing this. Maybe there's a one-liner I could use, but this is what I came up with right now. And then what we are going to do is we are going to send the message to ChatGPT, and we are going to get the response from ChatGPT. And I'll actually add this writing of the JSON file here as well, so we get it right away. And then we parse the function call if there's a function call, or otherwise we ask for another message. But instead of asking for a message from the user, we will just flip the roles around. So how do we do that? Let's just say that messages equals flip roles messages. And let's create this function. And then we pass it down here, and we have to also pass the system messages and the system number. System number. So what does flip roles look like? Define flip roles messages. Well, we're going to do for message in messages. If message role is user, then message role will be assistant. Else if message role equals assistant, then message role will be user. And then we return the messages. So that should flip them around. Now, I'm not quite sure about this. Python works in mysterious ways in this case, because it passes the original variable as a reference. So when you change it, it changes the original one. But in this case, when it's in a for loop, then I don't know if this references the original or not. But let's see what happens. So let me add here a print statement, and I will print the messages here, and I will do input here. So we will stop here, and I will see what the messages will look like at this point. So let's run this thing and see what happens. So it will ask me for a question. So let's pretend to be Python developers. Python is so cool, man. And list assignment index out of range. Great. So in fact, I have to set something to the first element. Or can I use insert here? Insert 0. Let's try that. Python is so cool, man. And yes, it actually worked. So now these are the messages. So we have the system message over here, and then we have a role of assistant in the beginning saying Python is so cool, man. And then we have a user saying, yeah, Python is a pretty awesome language. It's known for its simplicity and readability. What do you like most about Python? Yeah, sounds just like those Reddit users. So now I guess we should be able to continue this. If I press enter, then next this should be PHP developer talking to a Python developer. And then we should flip them around again. So let's run this. And now, what do we have in here? Okay, I can't use insert because insert adds another one in the beginning. I have to replace. How do I replace? Is there some function to replace in the beginning of a list? But yeah, it flipped around the first one. It's now user again. So it's going to work. So let's do it just like this. Let's say index 0. Let's say this is index 0, and I will just add to the messages something. In fact, I can just add an empty dictionary in there to begin with. So then we will just replace that one with this. So let's try. Let's remove our print and input from here, and let's see how a PHP and a Python developer will interact with each other. Python is better than PHP. And let's see what happens. Now, I'm actually not printing anything out. So this is happening in the background, and we are saving it to the messages.json. So let's stop this now and let's see what is in the messages.json. Here we have a conversation. Assistant, Python is better than PHP. As a Python developer, I understand that you have a preference for Python. Okay, and then we have it again here. Wait a minute, what did I do wrong? As a Python developer, that's the same exact, is that the exact same message? Yeah, perhaps I added it by accident twice. But then we get, thank you for the detailed response. I agree with you that Python and PHP both have their own strengths. Okay, well, this is not what I want. I don't want civilized conversation. Okay, here's the problem. I don't have to append this now, the message from ChatGPT, because it will be appended up here. So that's the mistake. That's why it's 2 times in there. So let's actually add here print user, or I'll call it agent 1 says message content. And down here, actually I don't have to add it anywhere else. Only here we add the message. And I will say agent system number says that. And maybe I should add like a new line here and a new line. Or here, because there will be multiple lines of text. And I don't have to write it here anymore. And let's see now, what will happen? I think Python is better than PHP. Prove me wrong. Okay, agent 1 says that. Agent 2 says this. No, agent 0 says that. As a Python developer, I understand, okay? I hope this provides a fair assessment. Absolutely. By the way, if you like the... oh, we're calling functions now. We want to write to index.php. And we called our getJokes function for some reason. How did it get here? By the way, if you'd like to see a practical example of how Python and PHP can be used together, I can demonstrate a simple program where Python generates a joke and PHP displays it on the web page. Would you be interested in that? Okay, so the conversation steered towards jokes because we have a joke function in there. Okay, so let's see actually what is it going to write. If I allow it to write to index.php, then what did it write? Index.php. We have a joke here. Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up all the things. Now, this is from my previous example where I created this getJokes function that returns these stupid jokes that I changed. The original version was why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. But I changed it so that we can actually see that ChatGPT will respond with our jokes. But I will remove this function from here now. And I will remove that as well. We only want to have the write file function. And let's change this system message so that it will actually say respond with 1 paragraph answers. Because I don't want massive answers here. Okay, we are going to start this over. And let's say, I think that the in keyword in Python is much better than PHP's... I pressed enter by accident. Both Python and PHP have the in keyword, but they have slightly different... Okay, this is moving too fast. Okay, we have now a bunch of answers from both of them. I think that the in keyword in Python is much better than PHP. I was gonna say PHP's in array function. Both Python and PHP have the in keyword, but they have slightly different functionalities. Okay, fine. Python is a dynamically typed language. Okay. Well, I want them to argue about something. This is not what I want. So let's update our system message. Let's first see that do we have actually just one system message? You are a Python developer talking to a PHP developer. Okay. And we have the messages. So let's do this. Let's say you are a Python developer talking to a PHP developer on Reddit. You hate PHP with all your heart and only want to write Python. You are a PHP developer talking to a Python developer on Reddit. You like to mix HTML and PHP in the same file and use simple file-based routing. Let's change from one paragraph to one sentence. And let's see now what they are going to talk about. And I wonder, what if I don't actually send a message at all? So what if I don't ask for anything? Is it going to create an assistant answer in the beginning automatically? So if I set the message to none, and then I say up here, if message, then append. And then we are going to print the message content. Also, if we have a message. So let's see if ChatGPT will make up a starting message. So let's run this and see what happens. Python is so much better than PHP. That's a matter of opinion. And then we have almost the same thing here again. Okay, now we are arguing. Let's see, is the system message changing? Yes, it changes every time. Okay, and now we are writing the files again. So what happened here? Agent 0, Python is so much better than PHP. That's a matter of opinion, but both have their own strengths and weaknesses. That's a matter of opinion, but both have their own strengths and weaknesses. Why you say it 2 times? It always says that's a matter of opinion. Everything starts with that's a matter of opinion. That's a matter of opinion, but I find the extensive library support and community ecosystem in Python to be more robust and comprehensive compared to PHP. And then we want to write something. That is interesting. So let's take a look at this. So that's a matter of opinion. Let's switch to GPT-4. Maybe GPT-4 is better. So let's do GPT-4 and let's run this again. Hi there. Why do you prefer Python over PHP? Python developer. I find Python syntax cleaner and its built-in library support extensive. How about PHP? What makes you prefer it over Python? With Python, readability and simplicity are first-class citizens, in contrast to PHP's legendary complex and ambiguous syntax. For me, PHP is great, because I can easily mix HTML and PHP in the same file. Plus, it has simple file-based routing. Python developer, that could lead to a tangled mess of logic and markup, whereas Python encourages cleaner, more separated code layout. PHP developer, yes, that's true. But with PHP, I can write quicker prototypes, which I can later refactor into a more structured MVC architecture. Okay, I'll stop this and let's read some more. Python developer. Speed of development is important, yes, but Python also allows for rapid prototyping and adheres strictly to avoid potential refactoring issues. Well, different language, different strengths, but I find PHP's embedding within HTML very convenient for web development. HTML embedding can clutter the code. Python's separation promotes code readability and maintainability. PHP's file-based routing is a simple and unique feature that I really like. Can Python do that too? Python's Flask and Django frameworks provide URL routing, which is much more powerful and configurable than PHP's file-based method. Python uses URL routing through frameworks like Flask or Django, which can be more complex but offer more flexibility and control. And that is interesting that we have 2 messages from a Python developer. And GPT-4 actually adds the name of the person here. That is very interesting. So we have very good conversation from GPT-4. I mean, these are like actual things that you could actually see a PHP developer and a Python developer talk about. True, but PHP's ubiquity in web servers also provides an easy hosting solution. What's your take on this? Broad support is good, but Python's popularity is steadily growing, making it increasingly easy to host on even the cheapest servers. So that's pretty cool. I wonder if we could add more agents to this. If we could have just an array of agents with the name and the system message, and then we could somehow let them talk to each other. Now, I think we can actually do that because, as you can see, it added this PHP developer, Python developer. So what if we say in the system message that you have to add your name to the beginning of the message? So then we could do something like this. These are the system messages. And let's add, you are a Python developer, and let's not add talking to a PHP developer. And let's just say here as well, you are a PHP developer on Reddit. And let's add, you are a Rust developer on Reddit. You like to make blazingly fast software. And could we add here like a name, Python developer, and identity, or what is this called? Just description. And we could have a description, and let's copy this. And this is going to be PHP developer and Rust developer. And let's add this description here, and let's add this description here. And then in our run conversation, let's do this. Let's set the system message, and then let's add here some extra stuff like always start your message with your name, and we will add the name here. So I will in fact make this an F string, and I will put this here, and I will do actually this system message, which will be that, and then we will add system message description, and I can't do that. Can I do that? Maybe. Always start your message with your name, which will be system message name and a colon. So now everyone gets a chance to talk in the next iteration. Now maybe we could randomize it, but let's do this for now. So now we can add arbitrary numbers of talkers in this conversation. So let's see how this conversation will go. So let's start it and see what happens. Python developer, I exclusively work with Python and have no interest in PHP. PHP developer, using file-based routing, you can create a file for each route and make your application more maintainable. Rust developer, that's understandable. Different languages meet different needs, and while I am a fan of Rust for its performance and memory safety, I acknowledge what Python brings to the table with its simplicity and vast library support. PHP has its own strengths too, particularly in web development. In the world of programming, there's often not one size fits all. Okay, and it continues. PHP's flexibility in mixing HTML and PHP in the same file allows for easy development of web pages with dynamic content. Okay, and we are going and going. So that's a pretty interesting idea. Now, what if I save this in a file somewhere so we actually have it? Let's make a folder called chats or something, and let's add a file, Rust, PHP, Python, Rust.json, and let's add this here. But now, what seems like an interesting idea is that what if we set this first one to be project manager, and then I will say, you are a project manager creating a PHP to-do application. You are instructing your employee, a web developer, on what he should do. And then I add the web developer here. Let's call it PHP developer. And we say, you are an expert PHP developer talking to your project manager. Implement the product fully based on your project manager's instructions. What if we add a code reviewer? And we say, you are a code reviewer that points out possible bugs and problems in the developer's code. Now I realized that maybe I shouldn't update the first system message, because apparently you can have multiple system messages. So what if I just append the system message to the messages? So I'll say, messages append system message. So then maybe it will change the identity when the system message changes. Now perhaps we should delete the old system messages after we have all the 3 there already, so we don't use extra tokens, but let's see what happened. And I will change this from agent. I don't need this, I'll just add the content because the content will include the name of the person. I will just add the new line here. And now I'm guessing that it will actually, the developer will use the functions to write something. So let's see what will happen. Let's run it and see what happened. Role is required. What did I do wrong? We added the empty one in the beginning. So I have to remove the empty dictionary from here. And let's run this again. It's taking a very long time. I wonder what will happen. Maybe there will be like a very long description of what. Okay, yes. To start, we'll focus on designing the basic architecture of the application. We will need a backend service to handle tasks like creating, reading, updating, and deleting to-do items. Okay, PHP developer, understood. I'll start with creating the database structure with the relevant fields for the to-do items. Okay, but it didn't write any files. Code reviewer, I'll be reviewing the code once you submit it to ensure that it is to our coding standards and is clear and well written. Also pay attention to exception handling, especially when dealing with file I/O. Okay, project manager, I'm glad to hear you're getting started. While you're designing the database structure, I would like it to include additional fields such as creation date and due date. Okay. I'll use prepared statements while handling database interactions to prevent any SQL injection attacks. Okay. Code reviewer, thanks for your active participation. Do divide your code into small functions to improve readability. And follow the single responsibility principle. Each function should do one thing and do it well. Okay, now we are not writing any code. So perhaps I should add to the PHP developer's system message that you need to write to files. Use the write file function to write the project files necessary. Let's see if this will work. Okay, and the project manager started. First, I would like you to set up the basic structure. Okay, actually, why do we have many messages from the project manager? That's all for now. Let's proceed in this manner. We will refine the application as we go. Here's how you should use the write file function. So that's interesting how it knows that it has this function, write file, that we gave with the API. And it's like instructing itself to do that. And then the PHP developer said, understood, and then it starts to kind of write, but this is not what should be done. And we have just the comments here. Now, this is one of the problems with the function calling API. If you try to write files this way, with the file name and then the content, it doesn't want to add much data in the content in the function parameters. So in fact, what I did in my GPT Autopilot project, which you can find on my GitHub page, is that I only have a function for opening a file for writing. And then when ChatGPT calls that function, then it will get an automatic response. Please now respond with the full content of the file. So the file content is not in the function call, it's in a regular message. So perhaps I should implement this AI agents talking to each other in my GPT Autopilot project, because this is a much more capable project than this AI agent that I'm creating right here. So perhaps I will do that in another video. But right now, this video is getting a bit too long and I need to go. So I will publish this code on my GitHub and I will leave a link in the description if you want to test this out yourself and put your own names and descriptions for these AI agents and see what happens with the conversation. Let me know in the comments what should I do next with this AI agent or these AI agents talking to each other, and I will use your suggestions in the future. But now this video ends here, so thank you for watching, subscribe and hit the like button and comment, and I will see you in the next one.